Good morning, and welcome to this last session in this mini series around embracing creativity. This is the last official session, but don't forget there's a bonus session which I'm going to really encourage you to take on after this. But I was feeling a bit apprehensive about introducing this subject. It's potentially one of those things which can arouse quite a lot of negativity, or it might be feelings of negativity. And so I was a little bit like, does this all feel a little bit sort of gloomy? But in my thinking like that, I realized that this is completely symptomatic of why I need to bring this in. So this subject that we're going to think about is around embracing creative discomforts. And if we can think of this in the same way that we've thought about depression, in that in defining things like comforts and discomforts and depression, we actually kind of give our creativity more of a positive space because it sort of knows where it stands with some of these things. In many ways, we're sort of chiseling out the negative space and leaving us with the positive space. So I'm going to persevere with this despite my apprehensions. And let's see where this goes. So I think the whole subject of comfort and discomfort is eternally interesting for us creatives. And as we kind of discussed in the last series, we talked about defining comfort and why defining comfort can kind of help us understand what also sort of becomes complacency and things like that. For us creatives, as the explorers that we are, we're always going to come across things which are unexpected. And in many ways, this is a sort of training, I suppose, in order to sort of help us deal with maybe it's an assault course or something. And I always like to think of the creative's journey as a little bit sort of like mining. And we're sort of mining at the coalface. And we may be digging and digging in kind of new territories where nobody's ever been before. And we may be tunneling for years through the darkness, through the mud, through the coal. But we do that because eventually and occasionally we find diamonds. And we may not know why we may be going in a certain direction. We may just be following our instincts and digging and exploring in a certain direction. But the feeling and the moment when we kind of make discoveries as explorers is kind of what it's all about. But we know that we kind of have to go through sometimes some of those dark areas, or some of the kind of grittiness, some of the mud, to find areas where nobody's ever been. And this is really the path of the innovator. This is what being a creative is all about. It's creating things which have previously been unimagined. So on that journey, it's very healthy for us to recognize discomfort. It's very helpful for us to have that sort of preparation, a sort of psychological preparation, to be able to acknowledge and see discomforts for what they are. And one of our great strengths is our ability to see things. That may be through being able to objectify situations. We talked about being able to objectify the forces of depression. But we really are the visual people, and that doesn't necessarily mean that we're just using our eyes. That means that we can sort of envision things for what they are. We can visualize situations, and we can illuminate areas which have previously been in the dark. This is very often what we find ourselves doing. We can find ourselves being enlightened, which is to literally illuminate and throw light onto something which hasn't been seen or hasn't been understood before. So rather than being affected and repelling and running away from discomforts, it's sometimes very helpful for us to just stop and recognize where that discomfort comes from, or what's causing that discomfort. Is it something beyond our control? Is it something which we've engineered? Is it something which we can embrace? Is it something which we can actually use to propel ourselves further? And is it a discomfort which we can deal with and which we may think is healthy, or is it a discomfort which is detrimental to our health and which is going to destroy our kind of creativity? It's not really a complex thought. It's not something extremely deep and meaningful which I'm kind of presenting here, but it's merely our ability as creative explorers on this planet to be able to see discomfort precisely for what it is when we come across it. And if you are one of those individuals, like many of us are, who just constantly want to create, need to create, as a mode and as a form of our existence, we will invariably, continually be confronting areas of discomfort over and over again, and very often without realizing it. So just my closing thought here for us is, it's very simple. Let's just try to identify and embrace discomfort and discomforts when we find it. Try to objectify it. Try to see the discomfort for what it really is and what it can do, what its potential energy is, what it is affecting, where it's come from, and whether it's something which has been engineered ourselves for a reason, and think about whether it's something that we really need to run away from, or whether we can embrace as a mode of propelling further exploration. I guess it's something to do with us also kind of embracing the warrior in ourselves and knowing that we don't necessarily need creature comforts every minute of the day. We can deal with that discomfort quite comfortably. Alright, like I said, this is day 5 and the last in this little series, but I would really encourage you to take the bonus material on, because there's some real corkers in there which I think will really help us bring everything that we've kind of been through over the last 2 series into one place, into one kind of cohesive thought, which I hope you can find very valuable. Alright, you take care. Thank you again for your time, and hopefully I see you in the next video. Alright.